flames of World War II. Years of brutal conflict raged across continents. The Axis powers, led by Germany, Italy, and Japan, fought against the Allied forces. The United States joined the war after the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941. The Pacific Theater was a scene of fierce fighting. Both sides suffered heavy losses in battles like Iwo Jima and Okinawa. The world yearned for peace, but the path ahead remained shrouded in darkness. By 1945, the tide of the war was turning. Germany had surrendered in May, but Japan fought on with unwavering determination. The US demanded unconditional surrender, a condition unacceptable to the Japanese leadership. The stage was set for a fateful decision, one that would alter the course of human history. President Harry S. Truman of the United States faced an agonizing dilemma. The war with Japan was costing countless lives. He believed that a swift and decisive end to the conflict was necessary. The newly developed atomic bomb, a weapon of unimaginable destructive power, emerged as a potential solution. The world held its breath. August 6, 1945, dawned like any other day in Hiroshima, a bustling city in southern Japan. The citizens went about their daily lives, unaware of the impending catastrophe. At 8:15 a.m., a blinding flash seared the sky. The American B-29 bomber Enola Gay had dropped the atomic bomb, codenamed Little Boy, onto the city below. The explosion was unlike anything humanity had ever witnessed. The bomb, with a force equivalent to 15,000 tons of TNT, instantly obliterated everything within a 2-mile radius. Buildings crumbled, bridges collapsed, and the air filled with the screams of the dying. A monstrous mushroom cloud, visible for miles, rose ominously over the devastated city. 3 days later, on August 9th, the city of Nagasaki experienced a similar fate. The B-29 bomber, Boxcar, dropped the Fat Man atomic bomb, this time with a yield of 21,000 tons of TNT. The blast leveled vast areas of the city, leaving behind a scene of unimaginable horror and destruction. The world watched in stunned silence as news of the bombing spread. The dawn of the atomic age had arrived, ushering in a new era of both promise and peril. The aftermath of the bombings was a scene of utter devastation. The once vibrant cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki were reduced to smoldering ruins. Buildings were flattened, streets were impassable, and the air was thick with dust and the stench of death. Thousands lay dead in the streets, their bodies burned beyond recognition. Survivors staggered through the wreckage, their clothes torn and their faces covered in burns and cuts. Many were in shock, unable to comprehend the magnitude of the destruction. Hospitals, overwhelmed by the sheer number of casualties, struggled to cope with the influx of injured. Medical supplies were scarce, and doctors and nurses worked tirelessly to alleviate the suffering. In the days and weeks that followed, the true horror of the bombings became apparent. Many survivors began to experience the debilitating effects of radiation sickness. Nausea, vomiting, fever, and hair loss were common symptoms. Others developed cancers and other long-term health problems as a result of their exposure. The world watched in horror as the images of the devastation emerged. The bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki served as a stark reminder of the destructive power of atomic weapons and the human cost of war. Amidst the rubble and despair, stories of individual resilience and courage emerged. One such story is that of Dr. Michihiko Hachiya, a physician at the Hiroshima Communications Hospital. He survived the bombing while inside the hospital, which was miraculously spared from complete destruction. In his diary, he recounts the harrowing scenes he witnessed in the aftermath, describing the endless stream of injured and dying patients. Another survivor, Akiko Takakura, was a 20-year-old bank clerk at the time of the bombing. She was at her desk just over a mile from ground zero when the bomb exploded. She miraculously survived, though she suffered severe burns and other injuries. Her account of the bombing and its aftermath provides a poignant glimpse into the human cost of this tragedy. These personal stories, filled with both pain and resilience, serve as powerful reminders of the human toll of these events. They personalize the unimaginable suffering and loss, ensuring that the voices of the Hibakusha, the survivors of the atomic bombings, are never forgotten. Section 5. A nation scarred, a world transformed. The impact on Japan. The atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki had a profound and lasting impact on Japan. The country was in ruins, its economy shattered, and its people reeling from the trauma of war and the devastation caused by the bombs. The bombings forced Japan to confront the reality of its defeat and paved the way for its unconditional surrender on August 15, 1945, bringing World War II to an end. The bombings also had a profound psychological impact on the Japanese people. The use of such devastating weapons instilled fear and uncertainty about the future. The images of the devastated cities and the suffering of the survivors became seared into the nation's consciousness. In the aftermath of the bombings, Japan embarked on a long and arduous journey of reconstruction and reconciliation. The country adopted a pacifist constitution, renouncing war and the use of force as a means of settling international disputes. Section 6. The Nuclear Legacy. The bomb's place in history. The atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki stand as a pivotal moment in human history. They marked the first and only use of nuclear weapons in warfare, ushering in the atomic age and forever altering the global political landscape. The bombings ignited a debate about the morality and legality of using such devastating weapons. The bombings also fueled the Cold War arms race between the United States and the Soviet Union. Both superpowers amassed vast nuclear arsenals, each capable of destroying the other many times over. The threat of nuclear annihilation hung over the world for decades, shaping international relations and influencing global politics. Section 7. Beyond the Rubble. Rebuilding Lives and Cities. In the years following the bombings, the people of Hiroshima and Nagasaki began the daunting task of rebuilding their lives and cities. From the ashes of destruction, a spirit of resilience and determination emerged. People returned to the ruins of their homes, salvaged what they could, and began to piece together their shattered lives. The cities faced immense challenges, from a lack of housing and infrastructure. Yet they persevered, rebuilding their communities and creating memorials to honor the victims and serve as reminders of the horrors of nuclear war. Section 8. The Call for Peace. Hiroshima and Nagasaki as symbols of hope. Hiroshima and Nagasaki have become powerful symbols of peace and the devastating consequences of nuclear war. The cities have dedicated themselves to promoting peace and nuclear disarmament, advocating for a world free from the threat of nuclear annihilation. Every year, on August 6th and 9th, the cities hold solemn ceremonies to commemorate the victims and call for an end to all nuclear weapons. The stories of the Hibakusha, the survivors of the atomic bombings, serve as powerful reminders of the human cost of nuclear war and the urgent need for peace. Section 9. Remembering the Past, Shaping the Future. Lessons from the Atomic Bombings. The atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki hold profound lessons for humanity. They serve as a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of unchecked hatred, the destructive power of technology, and the urgent need for international cooperation. The bombings also highlight the importance of diplomacy, dialogue, and conflict resolution. They teach us that the pursuit of peace requires empathy, understanding, and a willingness to find common ground. Section 10. The Unfinished Conversation. Nuclear Weapons in the 21st Century. Despite the horrors of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the world still lives under the shadow of nuclear weapons. The threat of nuclear terrorism and the potential for accidental launches remain real concerns. The international community continues to grapple with the challenge of nuclear non-proliferation and disarmament. The lessons of Hiroshima and Nagasaki remind us that the pursuit of a nuclear-free world is not merely an idealistic dream, but a moral imperative. It is a task that requires sustained effort, global cooperation, and the unwavering commitment of all nations. The future of humanity depends on our ability to learn from the mistakes of the past and forge a new path toward a more peaceful and secure world for all. What's up, everyone? Glad you tuned in. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Your support means the world. Stay awesome and see you next time.